Last time we had a similar meeting was actually, or the first meeting we had rather I should say, was January 2007, so well over a year ago. That was essentially a process that was kicked off by the Civic Society, and at that meeting we asked for volunteers and all sorts of different things and aspects, and thankfully we had a lot of volunteers, all of them much better than me at just about everything, but certainly web design, blogging, PR, leafleting, planning issues, all this sort of stuff. So we had a lot of people on board, so thank you very much to that gang for volunteering.
I'm Simon Grover from St Albans Green Party, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the effect that this Tesco might have on local businesses in St Albans. Firstly, what's happened in other towns? I'll give you 4 quick examples. In Cirencester, a central government study found that a large Tesco there caused a 38% decline in town centre food stores. In Dumfries, since a new Tesco was built on the edge of town, independent traders have lost 25% of their income. How does this happen? How can one large shop have such an effect on local businesses? We already know that St Albans shops are struggling. A lot of them have been in trouble in the last couple of years, and a lot of them have closed already. When a new supermarket arrives, like this one, on the edge of the centre of town, there can be an immediate barrier effect to the town centre, making it even harder for those struggling shops. To get to the high street, shoppers have to be willing to pass by this new store and, crucially, its car park. This would definitely affect St Albans, as parking in the town centre, as you know, is already very difficult. Another government study on the edge of centre supermarkets concluded that the principal effect of the new stores was to divert from the town centre to the edge of centre locations. And that's especially true if the distance between the supermarket and the town centre is too great, which again would be the case in this Tesco.
I was asked this evening to talk particularly about the impact on people that this store would have, and I think Simon's covered that, because people, of course, are the community of the town, and that includes the retail community in the city centre. But the people are all of us. There are those who live in the immediate vicinity, those who travel in and out of St Albans, those who work here, those who live here. So what will the impact for us be? Now, the argument from the applicant or those in favour of such applications will be that a big new superstore will introduce competition into St Albans, it will offer people greater choice. And those arguments will be put forward, and when you're coming forward with objections, you've got to be well aware of them. But what will the disbenefits be for our community? Well, I think the obvious one, and I referred to it when I started, is traffic and the impact on the highways. Anybody who knows this area has seen traffic backing up along the London Road at peak times, right beyond the railway bridge. They've seen traffic backing up Alma Road, traffic backing up from Hatfield Road trying to enter Victoria Street, and this is the present situation. The District Council will rely on the County Council as the highways agency to make comment about traffic and highways implications. And it will be for the highways agency, or the highways, Hearts Highways I should say, to make a recommendation whether to refuse or grant purely on traffic grounds. So it's very important that the concerns about traffic are made very clear to the officers at Hearts Highways who will be looking at this issue. Because I'm not convinced that people always look at the issue on the ground and always undertake the sort of camp that I know Stop Tesco's undertook last year. It is critical those points are made. And I mean, St Albans is second only to Watford for having the highest air pollution figures in the city centre and the urban area. And that should be a very significant thing for us, because that has big implications for health. And more traffic generated in this area can only have impact on air pollution. And that, I would suggest, is another issue that should be brought to the attention of officers both in environmental health and on Hearts Highways in objections that come forward. And I cannot stress too much that the objections that come forward must address planning issues that can be dealt with in a planning committee on highways, traffic generation, and impact on the retail life and the viability of St Albans as a prosperous city. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm also very pleased to be speaking here on behalf of the Liberal Democrats, but with all the other parties present. And it's been a great pleasure to me on doorsteps, because it is the local election campaign, when people ask me, where do you stand on Tesco? And I'm able to say, this is not a party political matter, you could not slide a razor blade between the parties on where they stand on this issue. And I think that's really important. And I think that Simon made a fantastic speech and Rona made a fantastic speech and covered many of the points that I might otherwise have covered. For many years I was a councillor for the ward that covers the Evershed site. And when I first lived in St Albans, indeed, I lived at the London Road end of Old London Road. It was my patch. And as a deliverer, and politicians deliver a lot of leaflets, I had to deliver Alma Road because there are many steps on Alma Road. And I'm afraid the volunteers all said, you can do it. And I can't do it. But one of the things that struck me then, when I'm talking 20 years ago, is that all those houses that were rented but belonged to Eversheds were absolutely spick and span, kept immaculately. I remember meeting Evershed in his factory. He was so proud of his factory, he was proud of his houses, he was proud of the city. Of course, the Evershed family still lived there. And I think the contrast with what Tesco have done to the site and they've happened to the site is very, very stark, and a kind